Welcome to the Property Management Mastermind Show with your host, Brad Larson. Brad owns one of the fastest growing property management companies in San Antonio, Texas. This podcast is for property managers by property managers. You'll hear from industry-leading professionals on best practices, new ideas, success stories, and lessons learned. This is your opportunity to learn about the latest industry buzz surrounding property management, as well as tips and strategies to improve your business. Now here's your host, Brad Larson.
This episode of the Property Management Mastermind Show is sponsored by Lead Simple and 4.5. They have teamed up to come up with one of the best conferences for anyone in or around the property management industry to attend. It's called the PM Grow Summit. This conference is laser focused on growth strategies and thought leaders from around the country. Now, I personally attended their PM Grow Summit last year and was truly impressed with the format, the venue, the quality speakers, and the level of attendance. And that was just their first year putting it on. This year's PM Grow Summit will be held in San Diego in early 2018, and it's shaping up to look like another fantastic event you will not want to miss. I've already booked my spot for the conference, and I will encourage listeners to do the same. You can learn more by going to pmgrowsummit.com. As an additional incentive, you can enter in the promo code BRAD, B-R-A-D, to get a $100 discount when booking your ticket. If you ever need an excuse to go to San Diego and stay at one of the historic downtown hotels, this is your chance. Do not miss this event. Again, go to pmgrowsummit.com and enter in the promo code BRAD for a $100 discount on admission. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Just want to give you a quick overview of what this episode is going to be like. So today I have Wes Owens from Citizen Home Solutions coming in to studio. And what we're going to be talking about is his company and what they do with a concierge service for utilities. It is quite amazing. We've been very, very happy with it. I've been using them for a couple years now. And this is going to be a real good episode where Wes gets to talk about what they do, how they do it, and how it's going to work and make it a win-win for you and your tenants. In addition, should you want to sign up for Wes's services, they actually added a bit more on the commission side to a quarterly share of 20%. So I don't want to steal a lot of his thunder, but that's going to be an upfront situation I want you to understand. You can also use the promo code BRAD, Brad, when you sign up with him to get that additional commission that he's talking about. And this is a huge win-win for the tenants, for the owners, and for the property manager. So let's have a listen. And welcome everybody to another Property Management Mastermind episode. And in today's episode, I have Wes Owens from Citizen Home Solutions. And what we're going to be talking about is something near and dear to my heart. It's actually a real difficult issue, but is setting up utilities. And Wes's company has a technique that they can go and work with your incoming tenants in setting up utilities and make it a huge win-win for you and the tenant. So Wes, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
Give us a quick intro on you and your company.
Absolutely. My name is Wes Owens, like he said, and I own a company, Citizen Home Solutions, that's a fast, easy, and free service for your new tenants moving in. We help facilitate and set up the gas, water, electric, cable, internet, satellite, and security if needed for the tenants and residents.
Great synopsis. However, it went too quick. So let's break that down, because the biggest headache a lot of tenants have is knowing which utility company to set up, which cable company to talk to, and also, are they getting hosed by their security companies that they talk to? So you guys have done kind of the whole gamut. And really how this works is you implement the system into your lease agreements, or at least implement a system that triggers a introduction, right? From a signed incoming tenant to your company, and your company takes over and contacts them. And in essence, they talk them through setting up utilities.
That's correct. So whatever process you choose, once we get the tenant's information from you or from RentWorks, we automatically go to work behind the scenes. We look up what's all available for the tenant at that certain residence. So we know when we call them what water, gas, electric, what cable providers that are there, what security company, anything that they want. We basically have a roadmap. So when we call them, it's a 20-minute conversation instead of them having to research everything themselves, spend 4 hours of their day on hold, or doing the research themselves. We do it all for them.
That's a big deal, because you're getting the information from us, and we're just giving you the basics. If I'm correct.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah, we just give you the address and a couple other things. So when you call, you're reducing that headache down to, like what you said, from a numerous amount of time contacting God knows how many people, getting the wrong numbers, et cetera, to figuring out, okay, talking to the right people. And you guys help them with that.
Absolutely.
Okay. And you're getting best pricing.
Yes, absolutely.
Hammer on that. I'd like to hear more about that.
Same pricing, and the best pricing is we're going to give the client whatever deals or specials that you see online, AT&T, Time Warner, Spectrum, any of the other providers that are out there. We hold about 27 national contracts with all the major providers that you can receive service from, but you're always going to get the best deal that's out there, and we'll help compare that for them. One of the biggest things is I've noticed owning this company for several years is that a lot of people are price sensitive to deposits. So sometimes when there's a Time Warner or an AT&T in the same residence, sometimes AT&T will charge a $400 deposit and Time Warner always charges $50.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a person that's kind of sensitive to cash and you kind of, if you're building that rapport with that client, kind of figure that out, then we know that we should offer Time Warner for them. But they get to make the decision. We're just letting them know what their options are. And that's why we're a concierge service.
That's a great way to say it. Yeah, that's a great way to boil it down. And that's a big deal because most people are price sensitive to huge deposits. I mean, think about what they just spent to move into one of our rental homes.
Absolutely.
They just put down security deposit, they just put down pet deposits, they just put down first month's rent. They paid for a moving truck, they paid for a move. They moved from whatever different city or even inside the city to that location. So they put out all this outlay of cash, and now they got to go put some $400 deposit with some vendor, for utilities. It can really be kind of over the top. It's stuff they didn't expect.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's what your service helps in trying to get them the best deal.
That's correct.
Really excited about that. So to give you the background and the listeners, we've been using Wes and his crew for about 18 months, I think, almost 2 years.
Yeah, pretty close.
Pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's about 2 years now. When we first heard about it, we thought, yeah, this is a great solution, but didn't realize how great it was until you implement it and you start to hear the results from the tenants. The tenants are coming into us after the fact, and they're really praising the service, saying that it really helped. They appreciated the help. They got better discounts, and they found out about things that they wouldn't have found out about had they tried to do this themselves. So we've gotten nothing but positive feedback from the tenants, and then it really creates a win-win for the management company. And explain that process.
Yeah, so for the management company, we pay out a quarterly commission, if you would, for everything that we sign up. So for every service that makes us money, we pay back 20% off the gross profit, and it comes back to you quarterly in a check.
So it's real simple. I mean, you're sharing the commissions. Basically, so people got to understand that Wes's team, they get a commission from whatever cable provider, service provider, whatever they're talking to. They're getting a commission for that. I mean, this is real honest, talking about it, but they share that commission with the folks that they got the lead from. That's us. So we get quarterly payments, that are pretty substantial.
Right.
I think the last one was, around $1,200. So that's a, pretty good chunk of coin that comes in just to help our tenants. So it really is a win-win for everybody. Win for the tenants, win for the management company. And then, think about the other win for your staff, because tenants are not calling my staff and say, who do I call for power? Who do I call for gas? Who do I call for water? Even though we provide them the list.
Right. They still call.
They're still going to call. We provided you that list to move in, you reference that. Well, I just wanted to find out because I don't know where that list is, etc. And then we can either turn them on to you, or you've already called them at this point. Oftentimes we don't even have to field that call, because you guys are Johnny on the spot contacting the tenants prior to moving.
Absolutely.
So it's really a good system. Once you get it implemented, man, it just runs like a clock.
And we'll talk about implementation real quick, if you don't mind. So implementation is really easy. I mean, like we said, we've been working with Brad for 2 years. I've been working with property managers for the later part of 4 years now. And over the years, we've kind of come up with we've dumbed down the process per se. I don't like using that word, but it's literally a 5-minute process to set up. We create a personal portal for your office for data to be entered into. And when I'm talking about data, just your basic stuff: customer's first name, last name, phone number, move-in date, email address, and new address, of course. And that way we can reach out to them. So, and then I'll provide you with all your onboarding emails, verbiage, like I've done with Brad here, and anything legal. I've also just received some legal stuff from a lawyer, but we don't have to get into that now. But if somebody wants it, on if you're collecting commission from us and you want to disclose that, I also have that now.
Yeah, that's a good point, because we put that into our management agreements and to our lease agreements. And it's just a simple phrase. I don't remember the exact wording, but essentially it covers everything, from the maid service that brings me a cup of chocolates over Christmas, technically by state standards, I have to disclose that to all owners.
Right.
So I created a very broad paragraph and, had my attorney read through it real quick. And it covers everything from service providers like yourselves to vendors like the mates, on up the chain. And some people may need to put that into their agreements. They may need to tap it into their lease agreement. They feel better doing that. So it's essentially going to be kind of a backup, for them. Because there are state requirements in certain places that are going to require that.
Right. Now,
driving that home, where can you guys operate?
Everywhere. We're all over the state of Texas, and we're in 13 other states right now. But if you're tuning in anywhere but Texas and you would like to implement our service, it only takes us about a week to do the research and get it up and running. All of our cable, internet, satellite contracts, along with security, are all national, and so we can basically operate anywhere. But I was also going to say earlier about implementation. The biggest thing is, like Brad said earlier, it's free to implement. Okay. I mean, you get paid from us and we're always on time. I can promise you that. Brad can attest to that.
They are.
And the biggest thing is we cut down on your calls for your clients calling in, asking what's available. If you get the information to us in the system, like he said, we are Johnny on the spot. We call that tenant immediately, because the biggest pain point for you guys is getting the utilities out of the property management or owner's name and getting it into their name.
Correct.
And that's what we want to do and help you guys. And that's what we want to help facilitate.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than an owner calling a month later and say, why is my power still in my name? And we kind of like, well, the tenant should have had an opportunity to change over. All right, so I just opened up a whole nother gamut there, but because apartment complexes and other property managers out there are not going to turn over keys in certain instances until they see a copy of the new power that's been put into their name. Right. Some sort of proof that utilities have been crossed over.
Right.
Okay. Well, trying to police that on a large scale is difficult.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it really wears on your staff. So what we've done is gone the opposite and deal with the onesie twosies that come up versus dealing with the 350 lease agreements we do per year.
Right.
That's what we did this year, is about 350. So you figure if we do that next year and we only have to deal with a handful, I'm literally less than 5 of people not turning over their utilities because whatever, they're just difficult to reach, whatever, we'll deal with those versus making it protocol to show me your proof of insurance, show me your copy of your CPS, show me a copy of your other utility before you get the keys, right? Those roadblocks of moving in just cause frustration up front. Okay, I'd rather deal with an angry owner that says, well, they should have turned their utilities on. Okay, Mr. Owner, here's how we deal with that. We're going to charge the tenant the $104 that they spent that month, and we're just going to get that from them and then reimburse you. Oh, okay, well, that's fair.
Right.
So I'd rather deal with the minor issues there, because since we went down that road, where I'm going.
Right.
Some of the PMs out there, some of the apartment complexes are going to say, well, we do it up front before they even move in. That's a difficult challenge, because what we also do is a lockbox move-in, right? So one of the techniques we've always thrown out there is tenant signs a lease agreement electronically, they pay rent electronically, they security deposits a wire, lease is done electronically via DocuSign. Now they're ready to move in. Well, we give them the option to move in via lockbox, so they never have to come to the office. So it makes that step of trying to get some sort of proof that much more difficult. Right. So what about anything more about implementation?
That's pretty much it. Like I said before, it literally takes 5 minutes. If you have somebody in your office that can be assigned to do to basically just data entry for every time you have a new move in, it's literally takes minutes. I can walk you through it in 5 minutes over the phone, and I can create your portal within 2 minutes. So
do you have any good examples of discounts? Like ADT does this, or Time Warner does this, or anything, any one example?
Not on security. We deal with 5 different companies. To answer your question on security, there's nobody out there that can beat our price, because our security contracts enable us and allow us to create our own pricing. And so it's basically what if the customer wants to pay for the equipment up front, or if they want to finance it throughout the duration of their contract, we give them all those options. Because like I said, again, some people are price sensitive to when they're first moving in, and they don't have $1,000 to drop on a camera DVR system for their home. So we have options to put it into the monthly fee, so they can pay it out over 3 or 5 years.
And you mentioned you're very aware that they are getting into a rental property with the security devices, like into the walls.
Yes.
And you mentioned about the satellites.
Absolutely. I'll talk about that. So first thing on the satellites, so we control our installers. So for DirecTV and Dish Network, Exceed, anybody else that has to do with satellite, we do not allow working with PMs. This is just something that's embedded into our system. And unless somebody tells us differently, we do it this way. If there's a satellite being installed, we do not install it on the roof. It has to get installed on a pole mount in the backyard. The last thing an owner wants or you have to report to is that they have a leaky roof because of a satellite dish or whatever. So we just kind of, if they go through us, it gets put in a pole mount in the backyard. That's the end of the discussion.
Yeah, and that eliminates the phone call or the email back, because in our lease agreements and almost all standard lease agreements, anything that goes onto the roof, like a satellite dish, is forbidden unless there's specific written permission from the landlord or property manager. So the tenants that want to do the right things, they call up Dish Network, and Dish says, yep, we'll come over and we'll screw a satellite into your roof. Oh, I don't think I'm supposed to do that. Let me call the landlord.
Right.
Again, generating a phone call to the management company. And then what if that's an approved deal? What if the owner says, yeah, that's fine, go ahead and let them. Now you got to go back and give them something in writing that says, yeah, go ahead and put it on the roof. All that can be avoided by just saying, nobody's putting anything on the roofs. We're going to have a pole mount.
Right. And how much do you charge for your satellite deposit? Do you know, like $150?
We don't even have one. That's a good idea, but we should.
So you should. What you still should do is charge. This is just my advice. What I've seen with other property management companies is you should charge at least like $100 for the removal of the pole mount in the backyard, because you don't want that there when they move out. And so you still charge them a fee if they don't remove the satellite. They get charged for it.
Yeah, great advice. So, yeah, I've never even thought of that, because that's such a, I don't know, it seems to be more prevalent, but honestly, Wes, I'll be real upfront with you here. Since we implemented your system, I've kind of forgotten all about that stuff.
Right. I appreciate that. Well, I'm glad we helped.
Yeah.
You know? And to your second part of your answer your question about security systems. So we have specific providers that we have, like I will call mobile systems. So it's like a self-install system that will be shipped to the residents or the tenant's home or residence, and they can install it themselves. So there's no installation of, screwing the into walls to run wires or anything. It's all a wireless system. And so when they move out, they can take it with them, and there's no damage to the property. So that's just one less thing you have to worry about when you go through us for security.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, I really like that, because how many times do people leave and we get stuck with their contracts, or there's some lingering stuff going on with the home, because these security companies, they're pretty,
they don't care. They're just trying to get it installed so they get their money and they get the contract signed. And one other thing I was going to say earlier is to the listeners out there, and then even Brad, I mean, if you've ever had been on the phone with a service provider and, excuse me,
get some water. He's going to die. Don't die. Don't die on me, Wes.
Been talking all day.
Yeah, I think I know where he's going. He's going to say he's about ready to give me about $1 billion. Go ahead.
So if you've ever been on the phone with a service provider and been hung up on, I mean, how frustrated are you at that?
God. Yeah, you're livid.
It's horrible. You're like, I just spent, 15 minutes getting to this point, and then you get hung up on, and then you call back, or nobody calls you back to try to get you back on the phone. You have to go back through the automated process and all that stuff. So my point is if you get hung up on, which my hang up rate is close to nothing. Yeah. But if you do get hung up on, if we don't call you back first, you call us and you get the same person on the phone, and we start where you left off. So it's kind of frustration free when we're going to be contacting your customers and taking care of them. So we want the process to be 20 minutes at max, unless you have a customer that's asking more questions, but we want to help them facilitate and get everything done within like 20 minutes. Yeah. Everybody's got schedules. And we want to get it done as fast as possible. Yeah. The thing that's kind of neat for me is that you can set this up in any state. You're in 13 now, right? But if somebody, name a state you're not in. Virginia, for example? Virginia, yeah. Okay. Florida, are you in Florida? Yes. Okay. So let's say you're in Virginia. I'm sorry, I missed it. Okay. I'm trying to think of a state. No, Virginia, not. Okay. Yeah. So somebody from Virginia, right, calls up and says, hey, man, I want you to do this into my state. You're dealing with a lot of the same players. Right. They're all national players. Right. There are some local players, of course, but about a week of research and you can set it up with them and get it going. And sometimes it's just a few days. It's just figuring out the monopolies and what's, the water, gas, trash, sewage, everything. It just takes a little bit. But sometimes I think we got Pennsylvania done in less than a day because one property manager was graciously enough to give me all his information and say, hey, here's what's available, or here's, so that made it a lot easier in providing that information. So
Yeah, because one of the frustrations I see out there is these little municipalities. And I'm not saying you guys can cover this, but you might be able to, because some of them are so backwards. They don't have any sort of online or phone application. You literally have to walk in to
fax machine.
Yeah, you literally have to walk in, pay a personal check deposit. There's a little city outside of San Antonio, and it always drives me insane because you physically have to go there in person to get your water turned on. And it doesn't matter. You could be a retiring general, out of the Air Force, and they're still going to require you to show up in person and turn on utilities. It's maddening. So for us to do that on behalf of some of our owners, it takes a written power of attorney, and they don't care about a management agreement because they don't even know what to look for.
Right.
So you're dealing with some really backwards people. And I know this is not a perfect solution. I'm just kind of venting at this point. What I think you guys are offering is an ideal solution. So it's like a citizen home solution, right?
Right. Exactly.
Play on words, yeah. And so in doing this, you'll help the property managers implement the system. You contact the tenants upon move-in, and then once a quarter, you look at the commissions that are going to be shared, and you give 20% of like a marketing revenue share.
Absolutely.
Right?
And we don't hide numbers. There's no smoke and mirrors. So if you want to know what your revenue is generating each month, you can certainly call us. I mean, everything's tracked in our CRM database, so there's nothing. And the reason a lot of people ask, well, why do you wait 3 months, is because it sometimes takes us 45 to 60 days to get funded on our end. And so we just say quarterly, and then that way you just get kind of a lump sum and then go from there.
Yeah, quarterly is fine. The way we've implemented this into the backside of the system is when a tenant signs the lease agreement, we send them an email with instructions. And in that email, it's all templated. Everything's in there that's going to be happening. At the same time, you're getting the information so you can physically call them instead of them having to call you, but we still provide them your information.
Right.
Because they might be Johnny on the spot people and want to call you right away.
Right.
Even before you get the information in your hands.
Right.
So we give information both sides so everybody can call everybody, and then we tell them, we have a provider called System Solutions. They're going to be calling you, offering you assistance in setting up your utilities, and we pre-warn the tenants so they get it, so they know the phone call is coming in, and they're expecting it. I mean, what's your experience been with that?
It's been really, really good. I mean, they take it really well, especially when we're calling, hey, this is Wes Owens from Citizen Home Solutions. We're calling on behalf of RentWorks with a free concierge that's offered to you by them. So this is a value add that we say that makes you guys look good. And I don't know if you've gotten any reviews. I know some of the property management companies have gotten reviews just on us of offering this free concierge service. So I kind of said that just so you kind of know what we say. We're calling on behalf of you. This is something that, RentWorks provides for us. We're really hitting it home. And so when they see that email that came from you stating that we're going to be calling them, they're usually pretty open. They're like, oh, thank God, I haven't done that yet. Let's go ahead and do this. How long is it going to take? And we always ask them if there's a good time, if this is a good time now to go over all their options, or we have a callback system that, people work. Most people work 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, or they could work night shifts, or whatever the case may be. We will schedule a callback when it's convenient for them so we can sit down and hammer it all out within like 20, 30 minutes.
That's excellent.
So
yeah, awesome stuff, man. It really is. I would highly recommend it. Now, before we start talking, you dropped a little bit of some red meat on me.
I did.
Called Bird Eye. I want you to explain this.
Absolutely. So I don't know how everybody does their review systems. I know the old-fashioned way. Brad and I were just talking about it before, not to pick on you, Brad, but
that's all right.
Everybody's like, "Hey, review my company." Okay, well, what do you want me to do? Well, just go to Google, find me on Google, and then review my company. That's kind of to me, it takes a long time, or you're asking a lot for somebody to go to that website or go to your Facebook page to do it. So we started with a company called Bird Eye about 3 weeks ago, and I was like, there's just got to be a better process to get reviews. So Bird Eye is a implementation software for reviews. What they do is they cover all your social media platforms. And so I'll just walk through the process, what we do. So when our connection agents have a good experience with the client, there's a piece that they go into on Bird Eye. It's like a little dashboard, and they enter the client's name, phone number, and email. And then at the very bottom, because you can go in and customize it, I have all of my employees' names in there. So they select their name because Bird Eye tracks who sends out reviews. So if you're trying to grade, your KPIs or whatever you have with your company, you're trying to grade people off of reviews, this is a good tool because it tracks who's sending them out, and it tells you percentages of, and we can get into all that later. anyway, it's very easy to send it out. So it'll send them a text message on behalf with your company logo on it. And then it also sends them an email. So when they get a text, it says, hey, thank you so much for using our service. Please click this link below to tell us how we did. If they have an Android phone, and obviously it's set up with Google, they have the Google link in there, and then they can just instantly go straight to the Google website, give you a 5-star review, and type a little bit of information about your company. So I found that to be, because everybody's mobile, everybody has their cell phone all the time. And so if you get a text directly after, and your employees in your office are stating that I'm going to send you a review, then it's working. And my employees always say, they're like, hey, I'm doing a contest in the office, to see if I can get the most reviews this week. Can you please help me out? So they try to make it fun and engage the client a little bit more. Everybody has their own method, but it's done wonders for us. I mean, you can go to our website now, citizenhomesolutions.com. And if you scroll down to the bottom, I have a widget from Bird Eye in there that says how we're doing on our reviews, and it's straight to the point. It lists all the reviews from Facebook, Google. It pulls them all every day to your website.
Wow, we're going to take a look at that.
So
I was excited to hear that. I said, wait, Wes, you got to talk about that on the podcast, because everyone out there is kind of like me. All these new things that pop up, they're like, really, what is this, Bird Eye? So we're going to investigate that. I think that's pretty. I know there's a bunch out there, but this sounds pretty good.
This is all property management, basically,
Pretty
right?
much,
Pretty
yeah.
much. So one thing too, ladies and gentlemen, about this software, it flags your reviews. And so what it means is, if you get like a 3-star review and that's where you set where you want the parameters to be, then it alerts you that you got a 3-star review and somebody wasn't happy, and you don't even have to list that on your platform. So it doesn't have to go to Google, it doesn't have to go to Facebook or whatever, but it allows you to answer that client, reply back to it to give them a response.
Yeah.
So when you respond on Bird Eye's platform, it responds back to every platform that you have out there, Facebook, Twitter, or whatever it is.
Even Yelp?
Yelp does it too. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It
Wow.
integrates with all those.
The scourge of the world, Yelp.
It is. And man, I'll tell you guys what, the biggest thing about it, and we're talking about implementation a little bit today, they walk you through your needs when you first call them, and then they set up an implementation phone call, and they will literally take over your screen and they will set up everything for you over the phone. So if you've got an hour for them to implement with you, I mean, it's been, I'm very pleased with them.
Yeah, that's neat. That's really neat, because a lot of people love hearing about those new things. I'm excited. I'll be checking that out. So Wes, if somebody were to, want to get in touch with you, want to sign up with your company, what's the first steps?
First steps is just, I'm old fashioned, so give me a phone call. My cell phone number is 214-493-2010. Call or text me. I'm always available. I'll call you right back if I'm on the other line. Or you can email me at wowens@citizenhomesolutions.com, and I'll walk you through or answer any questions that you have about our service.
Yeah, citizenhomesolutions.com. That's the way to go.
Yes,
Check
sir.
you out on the website. Very good. So this has been a great introduction. I know it's going to be kind of a short podcast, but a lot in there, because people want to know about this stuff. And some of the better podcasts I've been able to put out have been talking about the vendors and the cool stuff out there. So I encourage everybody to reach out to Wes and his team. I've been very happy with their services and can wholly recommend them, because it takes a lot of burden off your staff, gives the complete package of what you want to offer to the tenants. And I just think it's a great solution all around. So I'm really excited to be a part of it. And I'm so happy that you came in to give us an introduction on it and talk about it. Any last minute words you want to say to the audience?
No, the last thing I want to say is, everybody always looks for a value add service or a way to make their business look, what's the word I'm looking for? Look better than their competitor, right?
Sure.
And so when you're going in, you're interviewing for that home, for that owner or that investor, of why they should choose you. And you can state that, hey, I have a concierge service that backs me up, that's going to help, everybody have a great experience moving in. It's just one other thing that might help you win that bid or that new home.
Great twist. And I don't even think we're doing that. I don't even think we're highlighting your service. That is one of the offerings that we have as far as our management agreements. But marketing that to the owners is a great idea. And that's really something I've never even thought of yet. So that's awesome. I just picked up something there. We'll have to get a slick or something from you, like a flyer.
Right. We can certainly do that.
I think you have flyers. We'll have to get that so we can include it in our listing package and say, this, when tenants move in, we get them hooked up with a concierge service, and they get contacted by a third party, and they get all the utilities set up for free.
Right.
They're like, oh, really? That's really cool. Yeah, that's what we do for our tenants, because we are super cool, just like that. Yeah. So again, Wes, great episode. I really appreciate you coming on. I think you got a lot out of this, and I'm excited to see what you guys do in the future. We'll talk to you
You
soon.
want to talk to him about the promo real quick?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead
Yeah.
with the promo.
So right now, if you call me and you give me the code word, what do we say? Brad?
BRAD.
BRAD, Big Brad.
Discount code.
Discount code. So I threw out the figure a little bit earlier, but today and or for the rest of the month, if you contact me with this code, we're going to give 20% of our gross revenue back to you, and that's more than the norm typically is. And talk to me about the referral program too once you call me, and you can learn how to get more revenue in your pocket. Free revenue.
20%. So that is more than most everybody gets.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a promo going on.
Mm-hmm.
So hurry and call.
I guess I'm going to have to raise yours now, huh?
Yeah, you probably will. I can't complain either way because I've been real happy with it.
Thank you, Brad.
Yeah, very happy. So
Thanks for
again,
having
thanks
me.
for coming on, Wes.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, take care.
You too.
To see a complete list of the offered discounts for products and services, visit my website at propertymanagementmastermind.com. These offers include discounts from the PM Growth Summit, website production through Property Manager's website, discounts on showing services from Tenant Turner, and many more coming all the time. Be sure to use the discount code BRAD, B-R-A-D. Check it out.
This has been a podcast episode by PropertyManagementProductions.com. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast, leave us feedback, and come back for our next episode.